All right, so I'm 22 years old, and it seems like everyone in my life, everyone around me, all my friends, they're either in a long-term, seriously committed relationship, they're engaged, or they're going to get engaged soon, or they're already married and, on track to have their first kid pretty soon. They're already living with their partner, and everything seems great for them. And as someone who's also been in a relationship for the past 2.5 years, I can tell you from firsthand, relationships are hard. Relationships are work at the end of the day. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of commitment, and it will make you potentially a lesser version of yourself. Let's say before your relationship, you were really, a fun, outgoing guy. You love to go outside, go hiking, camping, fishing, hang out with your friends, go on vacation, go on road trips, do all these cool things that made you very happy and fulfilled. Well, guess what? Once you get in a relationship, that could potentially all go away, disappear as a whole, or at least lessen for a large portion of your life. Now, I always, just give you a little bit of background, I always was someone who was never really focused on relationships. Growing up, I was just focused on having fun with my friends. I would get in a bunch of trouble at school. I was kind of like the class clown type of personality, and I just never really had the time to kind of focus on a girlfriend. I thought honestly focusing on girls was kind of dumb and stupid at a young age. I just would rather focus my time on having fun, creating good memories, and just, enjoying my time with my friends while I'm young, which I am really glad that I did that. But then eventually, once your life kind of slows down, and after I switched high schools, I graduated, I started doing college, I started working, kind of living in the real world, quote unquote, and that's when I kind of really start to feel more lonely, right? It's that phase when all your friends start working full time, where they're in college, everyone moves away from your hometown, and you're still there. And you may be doing community college, you may be just doing normal college, working a job, but you kind of start to get lonely, right? It's harder to make new friends nowadays, and you're just by yourself more often. And it's really easy in that phase of your life to really crave and really want a girlfriend. And that's exactly how I was. I wanted a girlfriend so bad that there would be nights where I would be literally praying to God that I just wanted to meet the woman of my dreams and find someone who I could, share my life with and eventually make my wife one day. And after doing that for a while, eventually it actually happened. And it didn't happen without effort. It took a lot of work, but when it happened, everything had felt magical in the beginning. It felt like literally like it was out of a movie. I remember me and my girlfriend, so I met her on a dating app. I met her on Hinge, but before we had ever even met up in person for the first time, I remember we FaceTimed, and the very first time we FaceTimed for 12 hours straight. The second day, we FaceTimed for 8 hours straight, and then eventually later that week we had our first date, and everything just clicked instantly. It felt so amazing, so magical. It literally felt like it was like out of a book or out of a movie. And our first date, we ended up just getting food, but we got along so well that we just kind of made a random spontaneous plan to go down to the river. We got a bunch of food. We hung out for like 8 hours straight, just talked about a bunch of random stuff, and it was honestly amazing. Following that, we kept on going on dates. Everything was great, and I actually, we ended up spending so much time together. Time just flew by, but I was spending so much money. I didn't care. I was so infatuated and obsessed with this girl right from the beginning, and it was something I'd never felt in my life before, and it was just a really good time. I ended up spending, going on a bunch of dates, spending a bunch of money, but none of that is stuff that I regret to this day. And that is when I was kind of in the honeymoon phase, right? Everything is new, everything is exciting, everything is magical, and you really don't care about anything else other than pursuing this relationship with this girl that you've never experienced before, right? Nothing else matters. Money doesn't matter, work doesn't matter, your friends don't matter, your family might not even matter, and all that matters is you making this person your girlfriend. And after going on enough dates and spending enough time together, getting to know each other, eventually that ended up happening. I asked her to be my girlfriend. She said yes, and that was that. And for the next whole year, it basically continued down the same path. Everything was magical, everything was amazing. And then after the first year, I would say maybe even after the first 2 years, once we kind of everything started to slow down a bit, we kind of started to return to our normal lives, get back to just focusing on work and school and whatnot, and just our kind of excitement it stopped becoming so new and it just became normal, right? And that's when you pass the honeymoon phase, and now you start to see the other person for who they really are. You start to see their flaws. It goes from, oh, I used to think this girl was the most perfect girl of my dreams. I thought it was fate that we met. I thought we were meant to be together. This is the one for sure. It went from that to being like, oh wait, this person actually isn't perfect. This could be better. This person could be doing this. This person could be doing that. And you gotta just start to see each other for who they really are, and that's not a bad thing. Like, in the beginning, I remember I thought that we were exactly the same, just because we were, it felt like we had a lot of things in common. But as time goes on, I start to realize that we actually are more different than I initially thought, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. When you're looking for a partner, you don't necessarily want someone who's the same as you. You want someone who's honestly different, so that they can challenge your perspective, so you guys can learn and grow from each other, and you don't have two people that are just, you know, gonna agree on everything, right? If you agree on everything, then it's not necessarily good. Anyways, now it's been 2.5 years, and I obviously still love my girlfriend a lot, and I still plan on marrying her. I'm just saying that getting a relationship does not change your whole entire life. It might in the beginning, it might in the honeymoon phase, but once you return back to reality and start living your life, there's pros and cons to it, right? Like, it benefits certain things. You always have someone to hang out with. Obviously, you have someone that you love and care for, who you can relate to on a deeper level. Emotionally, you can be more vulnerable with them compared to anyone else in your life. But that also does come with some drawbacks. If you are trying to get into a relationship just because you are lonely and you're really trying to force that, or if you're trying to get into a relationship just because all your friends are, that is not the right reason. And you need to realize that being in a long term, serious relationship is a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of, you know, it's very stressful on your mental health, right? Imagine balancing, it's like having to worry about another person when it comes to anything, whether it's, money, whether it's food, whether it's anything, right? You have another person to worry about. But getting into a relationship is not going to solve all your problems. And if you're watching this video, I want you to know that even though you're lonely right now, you need to be comfortable with yourself before you can fully give a relationship your all, right? You need to be very confident and happy with the person you are. You need to be independent before you can get in a relationship, so that you don't become codependent. I see so many people who are lonely, who are depressed, who are kind of just anxious, and they're lonely, and they end up getting a girlfriend, and they just become dependent on that girlfriend for any source of light in their life, whether that's fun, happiness, excitement, any positive, emotion. They just rely on their girlfriend for. So if you weren't happy by being by yourself, if you're not happy with your life the way it already is, getting a girlfriend isn't going to change that. And even if it does, it's going to make you codependent on them for the happiness. So learn to be happy, learn to love yourself, be content with yourself, and before you actually, give it your all into getting a girlfriend. Because if you don't, you're just going to, get half-assed your relationship. It's not going to end up successful in the long run. But getting a relationship can either make or break your life. Obviously, people get into relationships for different reasons. I've always been the type where I always date to marry, right? I'm not dating to just play around or to have fun or to hook up or whatever, like all these other people. I always believe in dating to marry, so I'm very intentional with who I date. And I'm also I try to be very aware of my relationship, and also that aware of the fact that it is work, right? Relationships aren't perfect. No matter how perfect a relationship may seem online, you can see, people on Instagram, people on YouTube, whatever. Relationships aren't perfect, right? There is no perfect person for you out there. There's always going to be something that you guys struggle with, and that's kind of the beauty of it, right? A relationship at the end of the day, especially a serious one, is two people coming together as a team and acknowledging that each one of you guys have your own disadvantages. Each one of you guys have your own weaknesses, your own flaws. But it's seeing that and seeing the beauty in that and seeing the potential in that and seeing, ways to help each other and grow together rather than grow apart. That's the beauty of a relationship. So if you're getting into a relationship thinking it's all fun and games, everything's going to be good, positive, happy all the time, then you're not going to be able to last when everything gets bad, where everything gets, you know, when your partner gets sick, when your partner is going through a really hard time, when your partner's depressed all of a sudden, and you're not going to be able to handle that. So you have to understand all these before getting into a relationship. And like I mentioned, the most important part is that get into a relationship for the right reason. Get into a relationship because, one, You're already very independent financially and mentally. You already love yourself. You already have a fun, happy life. You don't need anyone else, but you want someone else, right? You're prepared to, put all this time and this effort and energy and mental stress onto someone else because you want to eventually marry them one day. More people need to start dating to marry rather than just dating to have fun, right? And people need to stop relying on the relationship as their source of happiness and their source of positive fulfillment in their life, right? Relationships are hard and people need to start acknowledging that, especially the younger generation. It's not all fun and games. It is work at the end of the day, but if you're ready to put in that work and you already are comfortable with yourself, you're comfortable in your own shell, then it can be one of the most beneficial and one of the most rewarding things that exists in life. Just make sure that you are really ready before you go searching for something that you don't know, how it's going to be once you actually get into.